Good afternoon, everyone. As always, we'll wait a few seconds before we get started here. Just some background information. This is a topic today that honestly I'm a little nervous even discussing. My wife told me if I didn't want to talk about it, I shouldn't. And she's right to a point. She usually is. But today, I feel like the topic at hand can be helpful to some. I do realize I do want to issue the trigger warning, though, that you may have noticed above the screen. Some transgender individuals might be negatively affected by listening to this discussion. And if you are affected, if you find your own dysphoria being triggered, please stop watching, and just do what you have to do to get through it. My own negative experiences have included, and I'll bring these up later too, but they have included me basically shutting down. And just wanting to hide away in a dark room, and just not even deal with people or public or anything. And I'll touch more on that later. I don't know how long this is going to go. I'm also going to save it and post it up on my YouTube channel later. Who knows? What I really want most out of this is for people to get a greater understanding of what dysphoria is and how it affects real people. And also, again, help people learn how to get through it. I don't know how I get through it, to be honest. So let me just start by saying these are only my experiences. I do know that there are a lot of other ways that people have gone through this that I have not, and I don't discount any of that. I can only talk about what I know and what I've done and what I've been through. I think it's also possible to be transgender without having dysphoria. That said, I think that it's more likely that people don't recognize their dysphoria. When I went through therapy prior to coming out, prior to beginning my hormone therapy or anything like that, I'm really trying to get the screen to open because I want to reread a meme that I posted late last night. Pain doesn't just show up in our lives for no reason. It's a sign that something in our lives needs to change. And I think that's true for just about any type of pain you can imagine. Whether you have heartache or whether your arm hurts, your skin hurts, you go to the doctor, you find out why. There's always a reason why you're hurting. And I think this is true for dysphoria. When I went through therapy, I had issues going on. There were things going on in my life that I just knew a lot of times that I did not feel right, but I had no explanation for it whatsoever. I just knew that I didn't feel good, and I didn't know why. And a lot of times I just kind of brushed it off. Yeah, yes, Kelsey. I brushed it off and just thinking it's just, I'm getting old or something along that nature. I just do whatever to brush it off. I stopped smiling long ago, before transitioning. And I never really had a reason for that, except one day someone asked me why I was so happy all the time, and I said, I don't know. And that was the day that I kind of stopped and became more conscious of it. I blame that on the excuse that my teeth suck. And it's only been just very recently that I've actually been able to smile again. But because I didn't want people to see my teeth, I wouldn't smile. Well, it goes deeper than that. For years and years and years and years, I could go through a line at a drive-up window for a restaurant or a bank or something like that and be called ma'am over the speakers. And then get up to the window, and every time I'm like, I'm not a ma'am. And I get up to the window, and then they just kind of, oh, yeah, you're a guy. This was, again, long before my transitioning. So maybe I was conditioned there. I don't know. But what I found after I started therapy was one of the first forms of dysphoria to hit me was I absolutely hated wearing men's shirts. I have a whole closet full of shirts. I collect t-shirts. My wife will tell you, I have more shirts than any one human should be allowed to have. And so I've got plenty in there that I can wear, but I didn't want to wear any of them. And I was becoming more prone to wearing only tops from the women's section at the stores, Walmart, Target, wherever, even ordering. And so I began building up my collection there, and I stopped wearing my men's shirts. And my wife explained, she says, women wear shirts like this all the time. And she's like, it's okay, you can wear these. And I said, I'm aware of that. A shirt is a shirt is a shirt. But not for me. I could not fathom putting one on. I tried to. Say, okay, yes, you're right. I'll go ahead and put one on. 5 minutes later, it's off. I could not do it because what happened was I just felt wrong inside. Almost itchy on my arms, my shoulders, my back, my chest. I couldn't handle it touching my skin. I could not do it. I would not do it. I think that was the start. That was kind of the first thing that I ever noticed about myself. The next was my hair. Of course, my hair then, this was over a year ago, was a lot shorter. Men's style, men's haircuts. But as I began to transition and accepting myself for who I was, if my hair did not look right after my shower, after brushing and drying and styling and all that stuff, if it didn't look right, this is when I began to slowly find myself losing it. Not getting violent or anything like that, but to the verge of tears, where I don't know how to explain this. I think some of you know what I'm saying. I just don't know how to put it into words. But if it didn't look right, I would find myself crying. I would find myself not wanting to leave the house. I would find myself at some point curled up back in bed under my blankets, literally all the way over my head. Hey, Robin. And so they would go, I would just stay there in the dark. And there was even a couple of days I called into work because I could not face the public. I could not face the day looking the way I looked. Some would say there's absolutely nothing at all to be ashamed of the way I looked. I couldn't do it. And that, I think, was the start of it. Now, after my therapy, and I had been approved by the therapist for hormones, yes, I went to my endocrinologist in June of 2018, who at that point in time would not approve me, would not prescribe hormones to me unless I could tell her about my dysphoria. I didn't recognize my dysphoria at first. I did not connect the two. And I don't know why, I just didn't. And so that, as we left, my wife and I were both at the appointment that day. And she was trying to tell me it was okay. And I know I snapped. And I told her, I said, it's not okay. I need this. I need to do this. I need to be who I am. And she's just like, we'll figure it out. We'll find a way. If we have to find another endo, we'll find you another doctor. And I'm like, we're going to do this. This is going to happen. She is not going to stop me. I scheduled another appointment back up with my therapist. And it was at that time, that my therapist began to help me identify and recognize the dysphoria that I was having. She really is. Despite some of her reluctance now is to let me out of the house, looking a certain way. But she is absolutely amazing, Robin. You're right. But once I did start to recognize it, and I asked my therapist, I said, how do I make it stop? And her answer will stick with me always. Her answer was, you have to nurture her. And it made perfect, total sense. If any advice I've ever gotten in my life, that was probably the best advice that I'd ever gotten. You have to nurture her. That meant the clothes. That meant the hair. That meant makeup. That meant lipstick. That meant nail polish. That meant perfume if I wanted it. I do use a scented body lotion, hand lotion. I haven't advanced into perfume yet, mainly because I can't afford it. But I like how I look now. I like myself. I do still have experiences where I know that I'm not on my game. If I go to Walmart, if my jacket, let's face it, it's cold here in Indiana. And we've got snow coming, so I'm wearing a big heavy jacket. And that, for the most part, covers up my look. So in those 3 months between my first and second endo visits, between June and October of 18, I experienced more occasions where my dysphoria would strike. And I think the last one was that hit me, that I remember from that time period, was going to Walmart and being called sir by the cashier. And I remember walking out. Yeah. I remember walking out of Walmart fighting back tears for being called the name that so many years before I was getting upset that I wasn't being called, and it was just so, it's like being kicked in the groin, really, kicked to the curb. It hurt. And it was very upsetting to me to be called sir, and it still is. Recently, I had made another trip into Walmart again, and I make a mental note of every cashier who misgenders me or disrespects me, and I make sure that I don't go anywhere near them again, because I don't want to risk it. But one of the more recent trips in, I was standing in a checkout line. It wasn't very long. It was a short line, but I was also kind of browsing on the impulse buying shelf, looking for some breath mints. And as I'm going through there, I got the cashier I'm hearing a voice saying, "Sir, sir," really loud, trying to get my attention to tell me that another register was open. Well, I appreciated her letting me know that the register was open, but as I passed by her station, I said, "Please don't call me that." And she says, "Huh?" I said, "Don't call me sir. I'm not a sir." And she says, "Whatever." It just blew me off. Yeah, that did not go well. That did not sit well with me at all. And wanting to avoid another situation like the character, I'm sorry, I apologize for that. Like the person, like the trans woman who was disrespected at GameStop. I just passed her by. And they are, for the most part, Anthony, for the most part, our Walmart here has been very accepting. Those are really the only 2 times that I can blatantly remember being disrespected there or being misgendered. But I make sure I don't go anywhere near those registers again if I recognize that person. So, that said, misgendering hurts. You may notice that on my sign, on my post, on my graphic that I made for letting people know about today's Facebook post about this video, that I've used my dead name, that I've used the name Scott, and I have been asked several times, when are you going to change your Facebook name? I know y'all are wondering that. I know you are. Let me just say that I have a plan in mind. I have always been very subtle about this transition ever since I started. I want it to get to the point where someone can look back at a picture of me from not that long ago and say, wow. I want that wow look, that wow experience. And that's what I'm going for. And I will be making that change. That is definitely in my plans. Spoiler alert. Soon. Perhaps sooner than some people think. I am, Robin. I really am, because being with It Works, being with my side gig, one of the things that I learn, and I have been learning all year long, is fighting off negativity and remaining more positive. And that has helped me so much with dealing with all of this. And I know it was not intended to be used, in this manner, but you can use these lessons on positivity and negativity in almost any aspect of your life. And for me, just learning to brush it off, it's difficult. It really is, because sometimes when the dysphoria hits, there is no stopping it. It's going to do its thing, and the sooner you can brush it off, the better off you're going to be. It's kind of like, I used to think that why, with my looks and these teeth, I used to think that I would be the ugly chick, Oh, really? I was going to end up the meme of the ridiculed trans person. Something that I absolutely did not want, and something that scares me to death. But being yourself, being your true self, is something that, let's face it, you take a risk every day. Especially when you're yourself, when you reveal your hobbies, when you reveal, I tell people that I was once an American Idol fan, maybe not such a big positive thing now, but back in the day, hey, you know what? Got some really good music out of there, I thought. But there are other things about me. I was the karaoke host. I was the karaoke geek. I went out every week, 3-4 times a week, after work. So that was just who I am. So, I may not have been the best for my reputation, but it was. But I was convinced that I was always going to be ugly. That I don't look that feminine. And so I have stayed away from makeup and everything. But my wife did suggest to me that I try a skincare regimen to help get rid of some of the blotchiness, and to get used to using some products every day and everything. And so I did that. I went in, that was the time, and I know I've told this story many times, but that was the day that I decided to go to Sephora to look for skincare products. Now, the support group I was going to at the time, they did tell me, I had asked them about a good trans-friendly place to go, and they all told me to go to Sephora because there was a woman there who they knew was trans-friendly. So I went in to ask for her. Well, she wasn't there that day. Now, also, I should say that before I went in, I did wait. I paced that mall outside the entrance for a good 5 to 10 minutes before I went in, trying to get my courage up, because I also knew, I had read up, I had researched on Sephora and trans people, and I had learned that they did transgender beauty classes and makeovers. I offered that and everything. So I kind of had that in the back of my mind, but I knew if I had a positive experience in there that day, I knew I was going to ask about it. I just wanted to be sure I could, and that was why I was so nervous. And so I went in. I went up to the counter where there was 3 people, and I asked for the person that I had been recommended, and she wasn't there that day. She was off. She was actually across town. There was doing a drag show that night, and she was off doing the makeup for them. Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry I missed her. And then someone said, well, what can we help you with? I said, well, I need to start a skincare plan. And they pointed, 2 of the 3 said, this is Heather. She's your girl. Oh, okay. And Heather turned around with her smiling face, and she says, hi, what can I do for you? And so she took me over to their skincare products. And we hit it off immediately. Everything about her manner, the way she talked to me, the way she explained the products, just the way she did everything, just really put me at ease. And I did find myself, I got the information I needed on the skincare, and I made plans to come back the following week, which was my payday, to pick those items up. I did ask her about the makeover stuff at that point in time. And at that point in time, I was really shaking inside. And it was my dysphoria, I know, telling me, why bother? You're never going to be pretty. You're never going to be attractive. You're always going to be the ugly chick. And I was, being afraid of the truth on that. I was doing my best to fight it off. And she explained to me about about the makeovers, the little free 15-minute sessions, and then the one total makeover, which you could have if you made like a certain amount purchase, which my skincare products did cover that. So I made the appointment with her to come back a couple of weeks later and do a makeover. This is when I learned that being beautiful is a lot of work. I knew absolutely little to nothing about makeup. I was pretty much resigned to always looking the way that I did, the way that I do. And when she did that makeover on me that day, and my pictures are out there if you've seen them, that was the day that I knew that I could be beautiful. And I told her that. I said, this is just amazing. I always thought I would be ugly. I never thought that I could look good. I said, and you've done the impossible. And made her cry and made me cry. And that to me was the best medicine for the dysphoria that I had been having. It still happens from time to time. And she gets me, you know. She's become my biggest supporter, my biggest trans fan, not fanned. But that's still, I mean, it still happens. I can't. There are times things hit me, and it's all in the way I look at myself in the mirror, especially. Usually this is what it is. That'll bring it on. And one thing I could do is just avoid mirrors, right? But that's next to impossible sometimes. Yesterday morning, in fact, was one of those days. It was definitely a bad hair day. Today's not quite so bad. I'm managing to keep it laying down. And that's just an issue that I have. I love straight hair. And last weekend, Heather was she used a hair straightener on me, and it made it look really good. And it lasted for a while. But this naturally curly and wavy stuff that I've got going on, I can't help that. It's just going to happen. So I'm finding myself starting to fight it off a little bit more, or I had been, to where I would look at my hair, and again, I still have those days where I just want to crawl back into bed because it doesn't look right, and I'm not talented or coordinated enough to do what I want to do. And it's a lot of times I think that it's our own self-doubt. It's our own insecurities that we find ourselves believing in and believing to be true that triggers and sets off that lets our dysphoria take charge. That's what lets it in, at least in my case. And so there's days I still believe it. And there are still days that no matter how many positive memes I look at, or how many kind words I get from people, that I don't want to move, I don't want to leave the house, I don't want to be in public, I don't want anything. I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't even want to pick up my phone some days. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And I'm going to be honest with you right now, I'm totally toying with that idea of just going back to bed and calling it a day early. And here it is, 3:35 in the afternoon. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen when I disconnect from this video. I may go back to bed. I may lay there for a couple hours. I may, in the past, when I didn't know what was going on with me, when I didn't recognize it, I could go in. Sometimes I would turn on music. Sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes I just lay there until I fall asleep, and maybe I'll fall asleep, maybe I won't. A lot of times I felt better when I fall asleep, or when I woke up. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. Most of the time I did. I don't know if y'all are getting any help, or if any of this is making sense. I think I've hit the gibberish and the rambling portion of the program. But there are people that do have a way of reaching me, and all I have to do is reach out and listen. Sometimes I don't want to do that, and I think that just delays my own recovery. So, if any of you do go through these experiences, the best thing that I can say is, male to female, nurture her. Believe in her. Let her have her moment to shine. Do what you have to do. Give her what she wants and what she needs. Don't take shit from nobody. In the end, in the long run, you will be happier. I've lost family. We all have. I've lost friends over this. And some of it really hurts. But I also know that it's probably for the better. Because I don't need their negativity to spoil up everything. I don't need their negativity to ruin my life. I don't need it around me. I need to be swimming in positivity. And that's a very good idea, Robin. But I know that when I hear the negativity, I know that I don't want to blindly drink positivity. You know, I mean, I know it's sometimes people are just blowing smoke. You know, when they say that, when they say, "Oh yeah." But just do your best. Do your best to reaffirm who you are. If that means you got to go online and look, wig shop. If you want to just take some time to go play with the makeup. I used to think I would look like Pennywise the Clown, and that's actually a very common thing that I've told people in the past. If I do on my own makeup. Heather was a great teacher as far as makeup is concerned. But my problem now is knowing exactly what products and how to identify my skin type and do all what I need to do. Okay, that and the cost, I will take PayPal donations, Cash App, you know what I'm saying? But to go out and actually purchase the makeup that I need is a completely different story. I can learn the steps. Heather taught me all about E's and threes. So yeah, I know I can learn the steps. I can learn it's knowing what products I need and what to do. I've got stuff in a bag in here that I have no idea what it is. It was just given to me a while back and I hadn't used it. So there we go. You notice how I also subtly changed the topic a little bit to kind of break away from the stuff that was getting to me. So just do the best you can. Nurture her. Be her. Be who you are. Be you. Be your true self. As far as names are concerned, I think I touched on that earlier. I kind of set a grandfather clause rule in my naming situation. I'm 55 years old. That's a long time to live before transitioning and before recognizing that you want to transition or that you need to transition. And so I kind of grandfathered clause in people. If you've known me 10 years or longer, you can call me Scott. It's okay. I know the people that, especially that I'm related to, my sisters. Hell, my two sisters, especially in Missouri, Sabrina and Stephanie. I grew up around them calling me by my middle name, Dwayne. They never adjusted to calling me Scott. They always called me Dwayne. And I told them, I said, that's absolutely fine. They have not seen me up close and personal since I've decided to transition. And that I want to go see them this coming spring or early summer if I can get away, if I can find the funds to go, to travel. And I'm not sure. It's going to be a little bit of a culture shock for all three of us, I think, for them to see us. Now, they've been very supportive. They both still love me. I'll always be their brother, you know. And to me, brother or sister, that doesn't bother me at all. Excuse me. My kids still call me Dad. That's one of my favorite titles. My next favorite title is is how I'm referring to myself with my grandkids, and that's that I will always be Grandpa. Very proud to be Grandpa. So with the name, if you've known me that long, and I've been at my job for 9.5 years. So some of you are falling under that category there. So at work, you know, I have changed my name to Paige. And that's who I am now. So to everyone, family included, I can't explain how much better I feel when I hear someone call me Paige. There are times people have called me Scott, and I'll walk right on by them. Number one, I've kind of tuned that out a little bit, you know. I don't necessarily respond now when I hear Scott just out in the open, and I have no idea who they're talking to. So that's just how it is. I guess I'm training people. Hey, Brianna. So that's just kind of, yeah. Where else was I going with that? Gosh. Oh, that was the other, yes, thank you. I remember now. Thank you, Robin, because that actually kind of cued me in on what I was going to say. I'm partial. It also saddens me, and maybe it's a good thing because I don't know for sure, but it saddens me that my parents both passed away before I could broach the subject with them. There's a part of me that feels like they would have been very disappointed to hear of this. I think my dad would have been. I don't think he would have accepted it. I know he loved me. They always loved me. Regardless, I think he would have gotten over it. Mom, I think she would have been better. I think she would have handled it better. Because, first off, the best advice I ever got from her was exactly what she told me when I was worried about making friends, worried about a job interview. She always told me, just be yourself. Just be you. So if I had come to her with this before she passed away, or if she were still around, she would have said, just be yourself. Just be you. And I think she would have been okay with it. Dad would have taken him a little bit longer. Brianna, I really hope so. Because there's someday I'm going to have to face them in heaven. And I often wonder if they're going to shake their heads. And Mom might have said, you need more eyeshadow. Dad would have said no. But, I am who I am. And that's just all I can be. So, I think with that said, I think that just pretty much about covers all of this. I can't think of any other situations that I've experienced. Again, just be you, just be yourself, and nurture her. Male to female, or female to male trans people. Oh, Brianna, you are so right. Yeah, I think you're right. But the female to males out there, I know nothing of your struggles. Sometimes I think you have it easier, but there are some of you that I have met that makes me say otherwise. We all have the same struggles, and we all have the same issues. You may not have to deal with makeup anymore. Maybe you'll be struggling to grow facial hair, but let me tell you, as a assigned male at birth, I struggled in the beginning to grow facial hair. When I got married for the second time, my beard was so scraggly. It was ridiculous. I tried to grow it anyway. No one ever told me to shave it off. So I kept it. I really wish someone had told me to shave it off. But they didn't. So, on that note, just love yourself. It's like RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anybody else? Bless and release the negativity. If someone comes at you with the wrong words, God bless you. See ya. You don't need it. So, anyway, I'm going to be saving this video and I'll be posting it up on my YouTube channel. Anyone else who is watching this on a replay, please comment replay so I'll know that you were here. God love each and every one of you for coming today, for watching this, for listening to me blubber and listening to me ramble and talk about my pain. Pain will pass. Pain heals. Pain will heal. As long as we know how to treat it. And I do my best to fight it off every day. If anyone could tell me how to fight off this pain in my lower back, any doctors out there? Oh, gosh. One more topic. I'm sorry. This one just sort of popped into my head because this is something that came up. It came up actually last weekend, in fact. And that was the topic of surgery. My initial response to anyone who asked me when they found out I was trans was always, I can't afford it. I'm not going to transition. I'm sorry. I won't be having the surgeries because I can't afford it. I want to spend that money on my grandkids. But what a few people started to hear was, you are so right, Robin. What people had begun to hear was, you want to transition if you had the money. What if you had the money? And putting that thought into perspective, and the way my initial responses was, the first answer off of my head is generally the most accurate. That is that, yes, I do want the surgery. I can't afford it. Surgery is expensive. After researching it, I estimated, and this may be way off base, but on an average, for a person to have a start to finish overall transition, you're talking $50,000 to $100,000. That includes travel if you have to go overseas for this. That includes, even in the U.S., who knows? And because I certainly don't, because I haven't researched it that much. But even up to $50,000 in some regards, because if you take into the bottom surgery, I already know I'm not having breast implants. I'm keeping what I have. Trust me, I'll be happy with what I got, because those started growing in 2011. So guess what? I'm keeping those. That was always my first response back then. I'm not getting rid of them. So, but then to have the bot and facial feminization surgery was the other area, and I had last every woman I spoke to about this, I was at a party, and everyone told me, you don't need facial feminization surgery. Your face is feminine enough. I disagree, but I kind of feel like something could be done in my jawline or in my cheekbones, and I about got slapped because I was told women would kill for my cheekbones. Okay, all right, maybe I don't need that surgery. So, we'll see where life takes me. I have not. I would love to find more stories on older Lost in Transition. If anyone saw that show when it was on TLC last year or the year before, I don't remember. I think it was in 2018. I loved that show because it dealt with older, not completely older. There was one of the transitioners was about my age. So I learned a lot from that as well. But we'll see. I'm more of the never say never type belief now. Anything is possible at this point. At my age, I don't know if that's a good thing. So we'll see. And on that note, I will go ahead and sign off here. Again, thank everybody. I thank you all for joining me, for watching, for listening, for reading, for commenting, for just plain being here, and for supporting me. I love you all. I'm going to leave it at that. Bye.